My 6-year-old almost died after my parents deliberately left her locked in a car for over 3 hours during a heat wave. We had such a great time without her, my sister said. I didn't cry. I took action. 3 hours later, their lives started to unravel. I was halfway through pretending to care about a spreadsheet when my phone rang. Unknown number. Local. I almost ignored it. Almost. The kind of almost that still wakes you up at 3 in the morning later. "Anna Walker?" a man asked when I answered. "Yes." "This is Officer Miller. Your daughter Lucy has been brought to the hospital. She's stable, but you need to come immediately." The word stable landed wrong, like a chair missing a leg. "What happened?" I asked. "We'll explain when you arrive," he said. Professional. Calm. The kind of calm that means something has already gone very wrong. "One more thing. The vehicle involved is registered to you." The call ended before I could ask what that meant. For a second, I just sat there, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to nothing. My office kept going around me, keyboards clicking, someone laughing at a joke I would normally pretend to hear. I stood up so fast my chair tipped over. "I have to go," I told my boss, already grabbing my bag. "Emergency!" He started to say something supportive. I was already gone. The elevator took forever. The parking garage felt even longer. I ran the last stretch, heart pounding, already halfway into the worst scenarios my brain could manufacture. And then I saw it. My parking space was empty. I stood there, breathing too hard, staring at the concrete like it might explain itself. Then it clicked. Of course. I'd loaned my car to my sister Amanda. She had called that morning, something about fitting everyone in one car, their second one not being available. Could they please borrow mine since my daughter Lucy was coming too? I'd said yes, because that's what I always did. I didn't have time to think about it now. I pulled out my phone, ordered a taxi, paced like a trapped animal while the app cheerfully informed me my driver was 3 minutes away. 3 minutes stretched. I checked the time. Checked it again. When the taxi finally pulled up, I yanked the door open and practically fell into the back seat. "Hospital," I said. "My daughter's there." The driver nodded, unbothered. "Traffic's a bit heavy today." Of course it was. The city chose today to be itself. I stared out the window, watching red lights stack up like insults. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I tried calling Mom. No answer. Dad. Nothing. Amanda. Ringing. The hospital doors slid open with that soft, polite sound that feels offensive in moments like this. Inside, everything was too bright, too clean, too calm. "I'm Anna Walker," I said to the desk. "My daughter Lucy. She was brought in." A nurse checked a screen, looked back at me. "Yes, she's stable. We're running some checks." Stable again. I nodded like that meant something. "She was found alone in a vehicle," the nurse continued carefully. "Given the circumstances, this has been reported." Reported. Another word that landed heavy. I was asked for ID, then asked to wait, then asked a few questions that sounded casual but weren't. Where had I been today? Who had my daughter? Whose car was it? I answered. Truthfully. Because I still believed truth mattered. When they finally let me see Lucy, she was sitting up on the bed, clutching a paper cup with both hands like it might disappear. Her cheeks were flushed. Her eyes were too big in her face. "Mom," she said, and burst into tears. I wrapped myself around her, feeling how small she was, how tightly she clung. She shook like she'd been running for miles. I tightened my arms around her and waited. I didn't say anything for a moment. Just let her cry into my shoulder, because whatever came next, I needed this one small pocket of time where she was just my child and nothing else existed. A nurse hovered nearby. "Ms. Walker," she said gently, "I'm going to explain what happened, okay?" "Yes," I said. Too quickly. My mouth felt dry. She kept her voice calm and precise, the way people do when they're delivering information they've already had to repeat a few times. "Lucy was found in a parked car in a public lot," she said. "A passerby noticed a child inside, knocking on the window and crying. They contacted security, who responded and called 911. Lucy's fingers curled into my sleeve. "They arrived and got her out," the nurse continued. "She was conscious, very upset, and overheated. EMS brought her here for evaluation." I stared at her. "How long was she in the car?" "That's still being confirmed by police," she said. "Based on the information we have so far, it wasn't a short period." Not short. That was enough. "She kept asking where you were," the nurse added. "She was scared." My chest tightened. I pressed my lips together and nodded. "Physically, she's doing okay," the nurse said. "We're monitoring her and making sure she's hydrated. But because of her age and how she was found, we had to report it. That's standard." Standard. Another word that sounded too small for what it meant. Lucy shifted against me. "I waited," she whispered. "I thought they were coming back." "I know," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I know." Officer Miller stepped into the doorway. He didn't look rushed or angry. He looked neutral, which somehow felt worse. "Ms. Walker," he said, "when you have a moment, I need to ask you a few questions. We can step into the hall." Lucy stiffened. "It's okay," I told her softly. "I'll be right outside." She nodded, but her grip tightened before she let go. In the hallway, the officer stood with his notepad tucked under his arm. "This is just initial information," he said. "We'll do a formal statement later." "Okay." "Where were you today?" "At work." "And your daughter was with?" "My parents and my sister, Amanda." "And the vehicle she was found in?" "Mine," I said. "I loaned it to them this morning." He nodded once. Wrote something down. "Did you give permission for Lucy to be left alone in the vehicle at any point?" "No," I said immediately. "Never." He looked up at that. "All right," he said. "We're still establishing a timeline and speaking with everyone involved. We'll be in touch to schedule a full statement." I wanted to ask what that meant, what they thought happened, but his tone made it clear this wasn't the moment. I went back to Lucy's room and sat beside her again. She was calmer now, sipping from the paper cup, watching me like she needed to make sure I wasn't going anywhere. I pulled out my phone and tried calling Amanda again. This time she answered. "You should have seen the place," she said right away, bright and breathless. "Logan didn't want to leave." "Where is Lucy?" I asked. There was a pause. Not alarm. Just the sound of someone deciding how much effort to put into an answer. "She's in the car," Amanda said. "We told her to stay there." My stomach dropped. "Why?" "Oh, come on," she said, already annoyed. "She was acting up all afternoon, complaining about everything. We needed a break." "A break," I repeated. "Yes," Amanda said. I could hear background noise now, voices, movement, something loud and cheerful. She wouldn't calm down. She was being dramatic. "And you left her there?" I said. "For a bit," she replied, like this was obvious. "She needed to cool off." "In the car," I said again. "Anna," she sighed. "Don't do that thing where you twist my words. She's fine. She's just sulking." I stared at the wall, trying to keep my voice steady. "How long has she been there?" "I don't know," Amanda said. "We're busy. The other kids are having a great time." Then she laughed. Not cruelly, casually. "We actually had such a great time without the drama queen." That was when I said, very clearly, "Lucy is in the hospital." Silence. "What?" Amanda said. "No, she isn't." "Police called me," I said. "I'm at the hospital with her." "That's not possible," she said immediately. "We parked in the shade. The window was open." "She was alone," I said. "Someone else had to call for help." Another pause. This one was different. She's fine though, right?" Amanda asked. "I mean, she's not actually hurt?" I closed my eyes for a second. "Define fine," I said. "She's alive." There it was. The exhale I could hear through the phone. "So nothing really happened," Amanda said quickly. "See? You're doing that thing again. You always blow things out of proportion." "She was locked in a car for hours," I said. "But she's okay," Amanda insisted. "You said it yourself. She's fine." And just like that, the fear was gone, replaced by irritation. "We didn't do anything wrong," she said. "You're turning this into a crisis for no reason." That was the question she chose. Not, what did she go through? Not how scared was she? Just whether this could still be dismissed. I ended the call. For a moment I sat there with the phone in my hand, listening to the steady beep from somewhere down the hall. It sounded like proof, like time continuing whether anyone deserved it or not. Lucy looked up at me from the bed, watching my face. "Are we going home?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Very soon." I took her hand. It fit entirely inside mine. They hadn't lost track of her for a few minutes. They hadn't made a mistake and fixed it quickly. They had left her long enough for a stranger to notice, long enough for the police to get involved, long enough for my 6-year-old to believe no one was coming back. And once Amanda knew Lucy would live, the only thing that mattered was whether this could be made smaller. I stared at the wall across from the bed and felt the shock harden into something steadier. This wasn't the first time my family had decided something awful wasn't a big deal. It was just the first time they'd done it to my child. That changed everything. If you want to understand why my family could leave a 6-year-old alone in a car and then shrug about it, you have to understand how they've always handled inconvenience. Specifically, by assigning it to me. Amanda is 3 years older than I am. That matters, apparently. It mattered when we were kids, and it still matters now. She was the first, the talented one, the one with big feelings that needed to be nurtured, protected, defended. I was the other one, the adjustable one, the one who could take a hit because, according to my parents, I was strong. I learned very early that strong meant quiet. There's one memory I keep circling back to now. I hadn't thought about it in years, not actively, but it's always been there, like a bruise you forget until someone presses it. Amanda's birthday party. I was 7. She was 10, old enough to know exactly what she was doing. I'd been excited for weeks, that kind of kid excited where you count days on your fingers and plan what you'll wear even though you only own 3 acceptable outfits. There were balloons, music, a cake I wasn't allowed to touch yet. The house was full of people, loud and warm and busy in that way that makes kids feel like something important is happening. Amanda found me in the hallway while Mom was distracted, and Dad was pretending not to hear anything over the music. "Come here," she said. "I want to show you something." I followed her, because that's what younger sisters do, because you always believe there's a chance this time will be different. She led me to the storage room near the back of the house. Boxes, old coats, holiday decorations shoved into corners. She pointed at a shelf. "Can you grab that for me?" I stepped inside. The door closed. The lock clicked. I remember the sound more than anything else. Sharp. Final. At first I thought it was a joke. I laughed and knocked. I waited for her to laugh back and open the door. She didn't. The music from the party thumped through the walls. Voices rose and fell. I called out. I knocked harder. No one heard me, or no one wanted to. Time does something strange when you're a kid and you realize no one is coming. It stretches. It gets heavy. You start to bargain with it. I don't know how long I was in there. Long enough to stop crying. Long enough to sit on the floor with my knees pulled in, listening to the party I was missing. Eventually, the door opened. Amanda stood there, bored, like she'd just remembered where she'd left me. I ran straight to my parents. "She locked me in," I said. "She locked me in the storage room. I couldn't get out." Amanda rolled her eyes. "She's lying." Mom frowned. Not at her. At me. "Why would you do that to yourself?" she asked. "I didn't," I said. "She did." Amanda crossed her arms. "She didn't want to come to the party. She said it was stupid." Dad sighed, the way he always did when something interfered with his comfort. "Enough," he said. "Don't start drama on your sister's birthday." I remember standing there, still shaking, watching the story settle into place without me. The version where Amanda was innocent and I was difficult. The version where it was easier to punish me than deal with her. I got grounded. Not Amanda. Me. For lying. For ruining the mood. For making everything about myself. That was the moment I learned a very important rule in my family. The truth only matters if it's convenient. I didn't bring it up again. There was no point. Every time I tried to explain myself growing up, it just turned into proof that I was too sensitive. So I adapted. I stopped pushing. I stopped arguing. I became agreeable. Reliable. The one who smoothed things over. Amanda, meanwhile, was encouraged to follow her passion. She studied art history, then something else creative that sounded impressive and led nowhere. Every time she struggled, it was framed as bravery. When I chose a practical degree and a stable job, it was framed as luck. I married Chris. We built a life that worked. We had Lucy. Amanda married Jason. They had Logan and Ella. She drifted between jobs, always on the verge of finding her calling. Recently, she decided to retrain as a teacher. Art, of course. Something with children. Something that finally sounded stable. My parents retired. Or tried to. They didn't quite have the savings they'd planned. They talked a lot about traveling while we still can. About how time was precious. About how they'd sacrificed so much. So I helped. I sent money every month. Toward the mortgage. Toward breathing room. Toward dreams I wasn't part of but was apparently responsible for. Amanda couldn't help. She never could. She had kids. She was retraining. She needed support. I told myself this was what functional families did. One person carried more weight so the whole thing didn't collapse. And now here we were. My daughter alone. My car. My family minimizing it. As I sat in that hospital room, listening to Lucy's breathing even out, the memory of that storage room pressed in on me. The same pattern, the same logic. Someone makes a choice. Someone else pays for it. And if I don't cooperate, I become the problem. I looked down at Lucy's hand in mine, small, trusting, still slightly damp from the paper cup she'd been clutching. I thought about how easy it would be for them to tell a story where this was my fault too. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel sad about that. I felt alert, because this time I wasn't 7 years old in a storage room, and this time they were about to find out what happens when I don't stay quiet. We were discharged just after sunset. That sounds calm. It wasn't. Lucy walked out clutching my hand like she was afraid the floor might disappear if she let go. The doctor had said all the right things. No lasting physical injury, vitals good, follow up with your pediatrician, watch for changes in mood. The kind of sentences that look reassuring on paper and feel completely useless when your kid flinches every time a door closes. In the car, Chris's car, not mine, Lucy sat in the back seat in absolute silence, staring out the window like she was trying to memorize the route in case she ever had to escape on foot. Chris kept glancing at her in the mirror. "You okay, kiddo?" he asked gently. She nodded without looking at him. That was worse than if she'd cried. At home, everything felt wrong. The lights were too bright. The couch looked unfamiliar. Lucy refused to change out of her clothes at first, like they were armor. When she finally did, she asked if she could sleep with the hallway light on. Then she asked if one of us could sit with her. Then she asked if we could sit closer. I sat on the edge of her bed and let her hold my hand while Chris hovered in the doorway, helpless and furious in equal measure. "She keeps apologizing," he whispered to me at one point. "For nothing." "I know," I said. "She learned that from somewhere." Lucy eventually drifted off, but not deeply. Her breathing hitched every so often, like her body was still waiting for something bad to happen. I watched her sleep and felt that familiar parental madness settle in, the quiet, surgical rage that makes you capable of things you didn't know you could do. My phone lay on the nightstand, silent. Nothing from Mom. Nothing from Dad. Nothing asking how Lucy was. That absence was loud. The next morning, while Lucy sat on the couch wrapped in a blanket like a burrito who'd seen some things, my phone rang. Unknown number again. "This is Officer Miller," the voice said. "We need to schedule a formal statement, either later today or tomorrow." "Tomorrow," I said, without hesitation. I wanted time. I wanted my feet under me. After the call, I stood in the kitchen staring at the counter for a long moment, trying to remember what people did next in situations like this. Drink water? Cry? Scream into a pillow? Instead, I made toast. Lucy didn't eat. Still nothing from my parents. Then, finally, my phone rang again. Mom. I almost didn't answer. Not because I was scared, because I was tired. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, voice soft, almost syrupy. "How's Lucy doing?" There it was, the performance. "She's shaken," I said. "But she's okay." "Oh, thank God," Mom said. "See? She's fine. I told your father you'd call the police over nothing." "I didn't call the police," I said. "A stranger did, because Lucy was alone." "Well," Mom said, with a little laugh that landed like a slap, "you know how dramatic children can be, and she was safe. We left her in the shade." I closed my eyes. "She was locked in a car," I said, "for hours." "Anna," Mom said sharply, sweetness evaporating. "Don't exaggerate. You always do this. You blow things up and make us all look terrible." "Lucy could have died," I said. That was the wrong sentence. Mom inhaled, audibly. "Don't say that. Don't be hysterical." "Hysterical," I repeated. "Mom, the police are involved." "Yes," she snapped. "And do you have any idea what you've done?" There it was. The real conversation. "Amanda is retraining to be a teacher," Mom said. "She works with children. Do you know what something like this could do to her record? To her future?" "Then all of you should have thought about that before you left my child in a car," I said. "Stop being so self-righteous," Mom shot back. "Nothing bad actually happened." "Nothing bad happened because someone else intervened," I said. "Not you. Not Amanda." Silence. Then lower. Dangerous. "You need to fix this." "What do you mean?" "You need to tell them you were there. It was your car. You're the mother. It makes sense." I laughed. I couldn't help it. It came out short and sharp and a little unhinged. "You want me to lie," I said. I want you to protect your family, she said. Amanda cannot have this on her record. I'm not doing that, I said. I'm telling the truth. Her voice went cold. You're going to ruin your sister's life over nothing. This isn't nothing, I said. You endangered my daughter. There was a pause. Then the words dropped, heavy and practiced. If you do this, Mom said, you are not my daughter anymore. If you go through with this, don't call us parents. I didn't respond. Do you hear me? She demanded. I hear you, I said, and then I hung up. I stood there for a moment, phone still in my hand, waiting for something to happen inside me. Grief, panic, regret. What I felt instead was relief. Chris came into the kitchen quietly. He took one look at my face and stopped. They told me I'm not their daughter anymore, I said. I let out a short breath. I think they're right. He didn't argue. He didn't try to comfort me out of it. He just nodded once. Okay, he said. That was all I needed. I opened my laptop and logged into my bank account. The transfers were all there, lined up neatly. Mortgage help, monthly support, little lines of money that said, I'll fix this. I canceled every single one. No message, no explanation. Just gone. Afterward, fear crept in, late and unwelcome. What if they lied? What if they tried to pin this on me? So I called a lawyer. Mr. Hoffman listened without interrupting, then said, You did the right thing calling. Save everything. Messages, photos, anything that shows who was responsible. I looked over at Lucy, curled up on the couch, thumb in her mouth for the first time since she was 3. I will, I said. That night, I sat beside her again, watching her sleep. This wasn't just about what happened in that parking lot. It was about what happened every time I was expected to absorb the consequences so everyone else could stay comfortable. Tomorrow, I would tell the truth. And for once, I wasn't afraid of what would happen if I did. I didn't sleep. I lay there listening to Lucy breathe, counting the seconds between inhales. Every time she shifted, my body snapped awake, ready to fight an invisible enemy. By morning, fear had burned itself out and left something cleaner behind. Focus. Mr. Hoffman had said, save everything, so that's what I did. I made coffee I didn't drink and opened my laptop like I was clocking in for a job I'd never applied for. First, messages. The family chat was a museum of casual decisions. We'll take Lucy with us. Can we borrow your car? Ours is full. We've got her. So normal. So damning. I screenshot everything. Dates, times, names. I didn't editorialize. I didn't add commentary. I just preserved reality exactly as it existed before anyone realized it might need rewriting. Then social media. Amanda's page was a highlight reel of joy. Smiling faces, plates of food, location tags so precise they might as well have come with GPS coordinates. Logan had posted a story, something blurry and enthusiastic, the way 12-year-olds document happiness. Ella's face popped up in a photo with ice cream smeared across her cheek. Lucy wasn't in any of them. I sat back and let that settle. The absence wasn't subtle. It was a hole shaped exactly like my daughter. I sent the files to myself, labeled them neatly. Proof has a way of calming you down when nothing else will. At the station the next day, everything was beige and humming and aggressively neutral. Officer Miller met me with the same expression he'd worn in the hospital, professional, careful, unreadable. This will be recorded, he said. Take your time. I did. I told them where I was, who had Lucy, why they had my car, what had been agreed to. I didn't dramatize it. I didn't soften it. I said left alone instead of forgotten because words matter. When I explained the phone call, my mother's voice turning sharp, the demand that I take responsibility, the threat, I watched Officer Miller's pen slow. I slid the screenshots across the table. "Those are the messages," I said, "and the posts." He looked through them carefully. No reaction, no commentary, just documentation, which is its own kind of judgment. "I want to be clear," I said. "I'm not protecting them. I want accountability." He nodded. "We'll review everything." That was it. No dramatic declaration, no reassurance, just process. Outside, the air felt different, lighter. Or maybe I was. When I got home, Lucy was drawing at the kitchen table, tongue poked out in concentration. She looked up when I walked in. "Did you tell them?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "I told them." She considered this, then went back to her picture. That was enough for her. Kids are efficient that way. 3 days later, my doorbell rang. I knew who it was before I looked. Mom, Dad, Amanda. All standing there like they'd rehearsed it, like this was an intervention and I was the one with the problem. "We just want to see Lucy," Mom said, as if she hadn't disowned me less than a week earlier. "She's not available," I said. Amanda scoffed. "You're really doing this?" "I'm really doing this." Dad shifted his weight. "Can we talk like adults?" That phrase, always a threat disguised as reason. "I am talking like an adult," I said. "You're standing on my porch." They came inside anyway, or maybe I let them. It's hard to tell when you stop feeling obligated and start feeling curious. "You canceled the transfer," Mom said. "Yes." Dad's face tightened. "That money was for the mortgage." "I know." Amanda crossed her arms. "So now you're punishing everyone." "I'm responding to what happened." "You're blowing this out of proportion," Mom said. "Nothing really happened." I laughed. It slipped out before I could stop it. Dry, sharp. Humor as a pressure valve. "My daughter was found by a stranger knocking on a window," I said. "That's something." Amanda rolled her eyes. "She was never in danger." "You don't get to decide that after the fact," I said. Mom leaned forward. "We said things we didn't mean. You told me I wasn't your daughter anymore." "Well," she said, waving a hand, "you were being impossible." Lucy peeked around the corner. Chris stepped in front of her without a word. "This conversation is over," he said. Amanda laughed again. "See? Drama." Something settled in me then. Not anger. Recognition. "This isn't new," I said. "This is what you've always done." They stared at me. "Remember your birthday party?" I asked Amanda. "The one where I was locked in the storage room?" Mom frowned. "That was years ago." "You locked me in," I said to Amanda. "I told them. You denied it. And I got punished." "That's not how it happened," Amanda said automatically. "It is," I said. "And now you left my daughter behind so you could enjoy yourself, and when it caught up with you, you tried to make it my fault." Dad opened his mouth, closed it. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "You don't get access to Lucy," I said. "Not now. Not later. And you don't get my silence." Mom's eyes filled with tears. "You're tearing this family apart." "No," I said. "I'm stepping out of the role you gave me." Amanda stared at the floor. I walked them to the door. No shouting, no final speech. Just a boundary so solid it felt like relief. After they left, I locked it. Lucy climbed into my lap and pressed her face into my shoulder. "Are we okay?" she asked. "Yes," I said. And for the first time, it wasn't a promise I was hoping to keep. It was a fact. 3 months later, life looks different in ways I didn't expect. The case ran its course. My parents and Amanda were each charged with misdemeanor child endangerment. No jail time, but probation, fines, mandatory safety and parenting courses, and a permanent record. The kind that doesn't disappear just because you're embarrassed by it. For the first time, the truth didn't get smoothed over. It stayed where it belonged. Amanda's teaching plans ended before they ever really began. Because she was still in training, her placement was terminated immediately. As part of the outcome, she's barred from working with children for 5 years. Not forever, but long enough that the path she was counting on no longer exists. I didn't hear any of this from them. We've been no contact since the day they showed up at my door. No calls, no messages, no attempts to explain or minimize. I found out through official paperwork and other people filling in the gaps. That distance made it easier to accept reality without anyone trying to rewrite it. Without my financial support, my parents had to cancel the retirement trip they'd been planning for years. They're still in the house for now, but things are tight. Knowing that hurts. But it no longer feels like something I need to fix. What matters most is Lucy. She sleeps through the night again. She laughs easily. She stopped apologizing for things that aren't her fault. In therapy, when asked what makes her feel safe, she answered simply, "My mom always comes back." That was enough. As for me, life is quieter, lighter. I didn't lose a family. I let go of a role I was never supposed to have. So tell me, did I go too far, or did I finally go far enough? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe for more.